Namaste. Welcome to the Ilongga Yogi podcast. My name is Kate. I'm from Iloilo City. I'm a certified yoga instructor and certified in mental health counseling. I share content on yoga, mindfulness, fitness, mental health, self-care, and healing. Before we get into it, I want to let you know that I teach classes both in person and online. So if you're interested in taking a class with me, just head over to bookwen.com/healing-Iloilo for the schedule and rates and to book as well. Hello and welcome back to another episode. It's been a long time since I've recorded a podcast episode, so I'm happy to be back again. And as you may know, for the past several months, I kind of got sick a lot and started to get really busy with work. And I really wanted to make it a point to sit down and finally do this because it's been too long. So just a little few updates that I wanted to share and wanted to start this episode off with is that first, I am very happy to say that I was regularized at work. And for those who don't know, besides teaching yoga fully, I also started to work for a company back in January this year, and it's already October. So it's been several months, pretty much half a year. And it's been great. It's been definitely an adjustment because I've never really worked formally in the corporate world. So it was a big adjustment for me, for someone who's been so used to freelance work, working at my own time, and just, I guess, more of business work. So it was something new for me, but I was open to it because I wanted to be able to branch out and do something else other than teach yoga all the time. And also, in the world we live in right now, I knew I needed extra income too. So I was definitely open to that opportunity. It was given to me. It was kind of like a friend invited me or asked me if I could, be part of that. So I agreed, said yes to it. It was, again, a huge transition. It took me a while. I think until now, it's still something that I'm trying to figure out and adjust to. And now that I have been regularized, I'm so grateful for that whole opportunity. And I'm very happy that I get to stay with them because I really do hope I can stay with them for a long time. It's kind of like one of those things that my heart is in it already, and I don't want to let it go yet, hopefully, and so far it's been great, so I don't have any complaints at all. And I just now know I have to adjust again, like I have to transition to this new work schedule because now I'm a full-time employee, and so I have to adjust everything and figure out what would work best so that I can, I guess, be more present for that also. So I know that there are some things I'll have to change and let go of. That's something that I've anticipated to happen. It's something that I always expect. I always look into that first, that if ever I say yes to this one thing, then for sure I'll be saying no to something else. And if that's something that I'm willing to do and I can accept the consequences, the aftermath of that, then it's a go. That's how I usually make my decisions. And so I knew that I was gonna say no to something else in my life. So definitely, I have lessened a lot of the things that I used to do. For example, I don't go to the gym every day anymore. So usually every morning I just stay at home so that I can work, start my day early and work early. Because if I work out in the morning, I find that I'm tired already for the rest of the day and sleepy, and that's very counterproductive. So I've let go of that already. It was kind of hard for me to let go of because I really wanted to maintain that lifestyle. But, you got to make some adjustments, at least for now that I'm still transitioning. And that allows me to focus more on my yoga practice and meditation practice in the morning instead. So things like that. I used to feel bad about it because I would force myself to wake up in the morning just so I could walk the dogs. But now I'm seeing that that may not be something I can do all the time, unfortunately. And I feel guilty about that. But at the same time, I cannot force these things, because I cannot spread myself too thin either. I don't want to feel so exhausted and drained every single day and feel like I'm trying to chase after so many things all at once. And that was definitely what was happening when I was forcing a few things to still fit in my daily routine. So, things like that. A lot of changes have had to be done, but I am excited for those changes. At least I get to experience something different now. It's like a nice change in my routine. So yeah, and I am at this point now in my life where I accept that I'll just constantly be changing. Like, things will always be changing. You're always in transition. So you just have to go with the flow. So there's that. That's my happy update in terms of work. I'm very excited about that. Another update is also some good news. I just recently celebrated the 5th year anniversary of my studio, or of my yoga business. I started out in 2018. So now it's been 5 years. At first it was Body Love Yoga Studio, if you can remember in old episodes. Now it's changed to Healing Iloilo, and it's been a journey with Healing Iloilo, and I'm so happy to be where I am now and to have these students with me now. What's nice about the yoga community here is that a lot of people, there are students who come and go. They really do come and go. But every time, I don't see several students come back anymore. I always have a new batch of students who come in and who start to fall in love with the practice and keep coming back. So it's nice to see that at least, I'm not losing students, and more and more people are discovering yoga and appreciating the practice because of Healing Iloilo. So that's something really, really exciting, and I, again, just like my work life, I know that in terms of Healing Iloilo, things will constantly change, things will shift, and it'll always be in transition as well, because I know that it just kind of goes with me through all my life phases. So right now that work is becoming sort of the priority, or is starting to make its way to being one of the priorities, unlike before, I know that things will have to change as well. So I don't know what's going to be next. Of course, all I do know is I will keep teaching, because that's something that I know I cannot give up. But so far, I'm pretty contented with where the studio is at, where the business is at, and I just hope I can continue to reach more people, with it. And recently I have been able to do so much more in terms of just yoga events and wellness events, especially with another co-teacher of mine. And so we've seen how our community has grown so much in the past few years, and how all of us are just coming together. And it's really nice to see more and more people excited about just moving mindfully, about the yoga practice, about just appreciating the whole tradition of yoga and how it can positively change your life, your mental well-being. So it's nice to see that, especially with the recent successful events that we've held. And I just hope that we can do so much more in the future. I do have a few planned, or at least one more planned before the year ends, that I hope will also become a success too. So I'm excited for that too. And right now, it's almost the end of October, and so I'll be leaving for a trip soon, next week actually, and this is something that I have been looking forward to, but it's kind of been, I guess, in the back burner, because I've been so preoccupied with so many different things at work and just a lot of things happening. So I'm excited to be leaving for a trip finally next week, and to just enjoy myself and rest and have fun, And especially this one because I'm going to be traveling alone for the first time to somewhere that I've never been before, and it's just locally, so it's not so scary yet. That's why I chose this place, because I knew that it wasn't going to be too intimidating. So I'm really excited to experience that and to just know what will happen on that trip. But it's definitely, again, another thing that I'm looking forward to. And not only that, I do have other trips that are coming for the next year, for the following year. So again, that's something that I have just wanted to do for this whole year, and in this like new chapter of my life. Basically, I just have wanted to travel a lot and, experience traveling alone, and just going out of my comfort zone and doing these things that I haven't been able to do, and more importantly, being able to finance it myself feels very, very special. And I'm very lucky that I can do that at this point in my life, where even though I'm married, at least I don't have kids yet, so I can go out and have fun for myself. So there's that. I'm really excited about that. And recently, one of the things that I also feel like is a huge achievement for me is just my overall well-being, like my mental health, my physical health. A lot has changed recently. And so I posted on my Instagram stories actually like a month ago and asked everyone, what topics would they like to learn about or know more about in terms of fitness and diet and all those things. And someone did respond with PCOS-friendly workouts and diets. So something that has to do with PCOS, or PCOS as we refer to it here in the Philippines, right? So I felt like that would be a perfect topic to discuss, actually. Although I'm not diagnosed with PCOS, I do have endometriosis. That's been a condition of mine for several years, I believe since 2014. And if you want to kind of know more about my story, my journey with endometriosis, I have several episodes that I've recorded in the past that you can listen to so that you can really get the full story. But basically, I just want to kind of update you if you already know my journey with endometriosis. I was diagnosed years ago, and I have undergone surgery. And then in 2020, it kind of, I guess, flared up again, and it was really intense, like very, very painful. And like I said in previous episodes, I don't know why it took me so long to I guess seek for help, because I was really struggling. It was not even struggling, I was suffering, because it was very extreme pain, unlike any other pain that I've ever experienced. And if you've had to deal with endometriosis, you probably get what I'm saying. You understand how painful it is. So anyway, just a quick update on that. It's been more than a year already that I have been doing acupuncture. So I wanted to give acupuncture a try first before I let myself take pills, because birth control pills or medication for endometriosis is not really just not the most pleasant experience. Again, I don't want to I guess paint birth control pills and medication in a bad light, but it really is just not that pleasant of an experience in many different ways. And so I just felt like I'll try other alternative methods first and see if there's any progress, if I start to feel better before I say yes to other ways, other methods, right? So I wanted to give acupuncture a try, and I did that for a year. And my doctor, or my acupuncturist, because he's also a physician, he told me to come in twice a week, every week for the next, I believe, 6 months or 3 to 6 months. Yeah. And so I did that religiously. I kept coming back, and I noticed right after the second session that there were big changes already. My periods were no longer painful. I don't know if I've shared this before, but basically I was so shocked to start experiencing cramps again, because my endometriosis and the pain that I would feel, the severe pain I would experience, it kind of overpowered the cramp. So I have not experienced and felt period cramps, like just the normal period cramps that you would get for years. And so when I started doing acupuncture, I started to feel those period cramps again because the severe pain disappeared. I didn't have that anymore. So that's that. There's that. And period cramps are like tolerable, very much more tolerable than the pain you experience when you have endometriosis. So there was that. I was happy about that. Nobody is typically happy when they have period cramps, but I was. And then lucky for me though, taking ibuprofen or any sort of like over-the-counter painkiller, mild painkiller, helps my endometriosis, like the pain I experience as symptoms. So at least I have that. But all I can say is that my periods have not been as painful anymore. Like I can work out, I can move, I can do things, like I can just function like a normal person even when I'm on my heaviest day. And that says a lot, because back then when I was on my heaviest day, I could not leave the bed. I was crying, I was sobbing. It was so painful. Nothing helped. I would just like stand in a hot shower before, just so that I won't feel the pain as much, and just like cry and cry and cry because it was that bad. So I can like confidently say that just with the acupuncture sessions for 6 months, it really changed my symptoms and how I feel in terms of like my period. So that was amazing. Acupuncture has been great. Another thing that my doctor or acupuncturist also mentioned is that usually in traditional Chinese medicine, any conditions and illnesses that you have in terms of your reproductive health typically mean there are issues with the emotion of anger. So like with anger. And that made me like think about it. At first I wanted to confirm, is that true? Is that something that I should look into? Because I never really felt like I was an angry person. But then I realized, like, as I became more aware of it, that, and now most especially that I'm no longer at home or in my childhood home with family, I started to realize that I did used to like get angry quite a lot and lose my temper quite easily. And even like in the smallest things, I would get frustrated or just kind of burst out in anger all of a sudden, even though it wasn't really necessary. So it definitely made me more aware, self-aware, and lessen like those tendencies. And who knows? I mean, again, you can't really, I guess, give proof whether that worked or not. But all I'm saying is that I've always believed that there our mental health or our psychological state does impact like our physical state, our physical health too. So when I started to just become more relaxed, I guess, in terms of handling difficult situations that would typically set me off and make me really angry, when I lessened that and like stopped raising my voice a lot and just kind of calmed down, I noticed again things changing in terms of my cycle. And so that's been like one of the biggest changes that I've experienced too, is just like learning to let go a little bit more, instead of like putting too much pressure on myself or expecting too much for myself, or like telling myself that I have to do this, I need to do that. I kind of have dropped that and let that go. And I've noticed a big change in just my state of mind and also my physical health. And before I continue with this episode, I also just want to clarify that everything that I'm sharing here is all based on my experience. There's no scientific or medical research that can back this up that I've gone through or studied. So please take everything that I say here with a grain of salt, because again, this is purely from my experience. And so anything that I share here is just to hopefully enlighten you. Maybe you are experiencing the same thing. Maybe you can relate to it. Maybe you'd like to give it a try and see if it works for you, because I know that the things that I'll share here anyway isn't anything too drastic. I'm not going to ask you to take medication. I'm not going to ask you to do any procedure. It's purely all about just your daily habits and very accessible things that you can try. So just keep that in mind. Let's take a quick break from this episode to talk about my juice brand, Daily Greens. If you're in Iloilo City and looking for a healthy juice that doesn't have any added sugar, no preservatives, and is packed with a variety of vegetables and fruits, then you should try Daily Greens. With 2 flavors, Greens Blend, a blend of 11 vegetables and fruits, and Carrots Blend, which is 50% carrots and a mix of other vegetables and fruits. This is unlike any other juice sold on the market. Most juices are packed with more fruits to help it taste better, but completely miss the point of being a nutritious and healthy drink. Remember, fruits are still filled with sugar and must be enjoyed in controlled portions. Daily Greens makes sure that you get the most out of a bottle, packing it with more vegetables than fruits and making it fresh, not to mention affordable for everyone. You can enjoy a bottle or 2 every day, which is perfect if your goal is to maintain healthy yet easy habits in the long run. You can order from Healthy Kitchen, Salads and Wraps, Mamaka, Storm Cafe, and Simple and Whole. This is your sign to start building healthier habits in the most convenient way with Daily Greens. So now that you have an idea of how my endometriosis has been lately and how I've been able to manage it, I want to start talking about my workout routine and my diet and other things that I also do to help manage my endometriosis. So let's start with my workout routine. Now, back in 2019, I would work out 5 to 6 times a week. It was that intense because I got very addicted with CrossFit, something that I never thought I would ever do, but that happened and I really enjoyed it. And I would say that doing that made me feel like part of a community. That's one of the best things about CrossFit, even if you almost die in every workout, but the community is unlike any other. So that really made me feel so much better. I was so much happier for sure, and it positively affected my mental health. But now what I do, including because of all the changes that I've been through recently, with work and everything I shared earlier, now I try to do it at least once a week, if I can, twice a week, just because it's just kind of hard to fit it in my schedule now. Also because I also teach yoga every single day, and I have 2 to 3 classes a day. So I've noticed that when I worked out every day as well, it really just drained me. Physically, I was so tired. Now, take note, every person is different, okay? For me, working out that much doesn't work. But for other people, working out every day actually makes them feel so much more energized and makes them feel better. And I also want to preface all of that and just say that I don't eat the healthiest either. I have bad eating habits, trust me. So I'm not the healthiest eater either. And so I know that that'll affect my recovery. So just keep that in mind. But for me, what works better is not working out every day, and instead just working out once or twice a week, and instead practicing yoga more often. Because that's something that I also noticed when I started working out more regularly. I was too tired to just practice yoga, which is understandable given, you work out intensely in the morning every day, and then I have to teach every day as well, which is also very physically demanding. And then on top of that, I expect myself to do a full-on practice too, which is just not possible anymore. Like, I'd rather just sleep during that time instead of get myself on the mat. So it was just like very difficult to keep up. So that's why, to me, like, now what works better is to wake up in the morning and then hopefully, as much as possible, I'm not perfect, but try my best to jump on the mat immediately and practice yoga. And another thing that I do is I don't practice like full 60 minutes every single day, because again, for me, that just doesn't work. It's not sustainable. But I know for others, that's the best thing to do, like to practice an hour long, even longer every single day. But for me, 20 minutes to 30 minutes, sometimes 40-minute practice is enough. And plus the fact that I prefer to focus more on my meditation practice and breath work, like that's more important to me. So every day I try to practice at least 20 minutes on my mat just to move my body. And then I also practice my breath work. My meditation is very important. That's also usually going to be around 15 minutes long. And then I have my other classes. I teach yoga, so I will still find my way on the mat again multiple times a day. So that's kind of what has worked for me. And what I also think is that, again, based on my experience and how I would feel in my body, whenever I have worked out too much, like I have done too much cardio in a week, I noticed that I would bloat. Like, there have been many times, many instances when it would be like my third workout of the week, and it would be like another Metcon workout. So Metcon is kind of like cardio, where you really get your heart rate up, and it's really usually like fast and burpees type of thing, that kind of workout, and let's say like jump rope, DUs, double unders. So anyway, whenever I would do that, I noticed that right after the workout I would bloat intensely, and it would be very painful. Like, I would start to have cramps, and it's just like very weird, because it just happens at like odd times in my cycle, like when I'm not supposed to be experiencing that. For example, like right after my period, typically I feel a lot better. Like, I don't feel anything anymore. I feel really normal. I feel like I have so much energy. But when I have worked out too much, or what feels like it's a bit much, I cramp, I bloat, and it's just like a very odd experience, and it only happens like right after my workout. And that's if like I've worked out a lot during that week. So that was just something that I noticed that I stopped doing now. Like, I've lessened how often I work out and how often I do cardio, just to see if it'll change anything. And sure enough, I no longer experience that like after working out. So that was another red flag for me. But also because when you work out, especially CrossFit, right, it does create a lot of stress, but it's controlled stress, because again, you're doing a workout, so it's supposedly like controlled stress, and it's good to do that, to experience that, because it definitely like teaches your body and mind to manage stress. But when you do it too often, at least for me, or when I do it too regularly, it just creates a lot of unnecessary stress in my body on top of the stress that I go through every day. So it's no longer sustainable, or it's no longer good for me. So that's why I've had to lessen that. Like, again, 2 times a week is already pretty enough for me. And then focusing more on yoga or more calming forms of workouts and exercises work better for me. Now, in terms of diet, like I mentioned earlier, I honestly have a terrible diet, but I found that eating more protein and then lessening sugar, of course, and that's one of the things that CrossFit has also, I guess, taught me, is to, the importance of lessening sugar intake and dairy, because it really affects your performance. You just like feel it in your body and in your recovery. So yeah, eating more protein, less sugar as much as possible, less dairy, and then also not too much carbs, because like when I eat too much bread or too much pasta, I again bloat, and you can feel it. I think it's, a lot of us have like gluten issues, so it could be that. But again, changing my diet has helped as well, but I am also not strict with myself. I used to be very strict. I used to do like meal plans. I try to count my calories, all these things. I used to be vegan, vegetarian, all that. And I knew that all of those weren't going to be sustainable for me. It's just not going to work out for me. So again, I'm not saying that they're wrong, because I know people who are vegan and can sustain that lifestyle and are doing really well. They feel healthy and so much energy, all these things. But for me personally, it just doesn't work. So I still indulge. Trust me, I still indulge, but I would say it's definitely more controlled than before. One other thing that I also want to mention is that because I started taking antidepressants, that has changed my appetite a lot. And I noticed that I no longer stress eat as much as I used to, because before I would stress eat a lot. Like I would want sweets all the time, and I would want it after every meal, that kind of thing. I would want fried and oily foods all the time. And usually just it would be like I would want these types of foods because it comforts me, right? So again, very much an emotional eater. But ever since I started taking antidepressants, that has toned down a lot. I still do that, like especially right before my period, I want to just eat everything. But definitely on a regular day when I'm not about to get my period, or even when I'm on my period, my eating habits and my appetite has definitely calmed down. And so that's another thing that I've noticed. For me, in terms of diet, which might suck if you were hoping to get like important tips and advice and everything, but the truth is, like, I would rather just allow myself to eat and enjoy food, because again, stressing over the food I eat every day just adds on to the overall stress that I experience and the anxiety that I experience, and it just worsens my condition. So it's really, all about letting myself enjoy food, but also, I guess now, knowing my limits and just allowing myself to have a better relationship with food. So as I mentioned, in terms of like the workouts and the diets that I practice for my endometriosis, it's really more about listening to my body. That helps a lot. But besides like listening to my body, it's also paying attention to the stress that I experience now, because I think, to be honest, I'm realizing that it's not purely exercise and diet that affects my endometriosis and how I can manage it. But I feel like the symptoms are way more intense and magnified when I'm highly stressed. And I really do firmly believe in that it's actually more of the stress, the anxiety, the psychological, my psychological state that matters way more and actually affects my physical health, my endometriosis. So ever since I've stepped away from a lot of the things that were triggering me and started to shift the way I see my problems and see challenges, I noticed that my period also started to change. It became more regular and less painful. Again, like I didn't feel the sharp pain that I used to feel that would just crawl down my leg, from my back down to my foot. I would become more productive, even though I would still be on my period. I can function more. So I definitely know that it's all about my psychological state. So that's why I wanted to include just stress, how it's actually more important that you focus on managing your stress every day rather than trying to force an exercise routine or a workout routine or a different diet that can stress you out even more. So for me, a lot of mindful daily habits are way more important. The journaling, the meditation, the breath work, and getting proper sleep, napping when I need to nap during the day is more important. They're all more important to me than how many hours I put in my workout, my exercise, and, eating very, very clean food all the time. So I hope that helps you somehow, and also puts a little less pressure on you that you have to work out a certain way or that you have to eat a certain way just so that you can manage your PCOS or your endometriosis like me. But again, these are all the things that work for me. It's weightlifting more often, a little bit of CrossFit, again, like once a week is enough. More yoga is so helpful for me. Even yoga Pilates, I do that interchangeably most of the time, just like on my own. But if you can join classes, that would be much better. And then, of course, in terms of food, just being more mindful in what I eat and seeing if I can include more vegetables in my diet, eating in a way that makes me happy. And again, doing it as mindfully as possible, but also just looking at the stress that I experience and finding a way every single day to manage the stress as much as possible so that it doesn't affect my endometriosis or my physical health. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Ilongga Yogi podcast. If you'd like more similar content, you can learn more on my blog and socials, which will be linked in the show notes. Wishing you peace in the body, peace in the mind, and peace in your heart wherever you are. Always take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you next time.